न पश्यतीत्याहुः एकीभवति न जिघ्रतीत्याहुः एकीभवति न रसयतीत्याहुः एकीभवति न वदतीत्याहुः एकीभवति न शृणोतीत्याहुः एकीभवति न मनतेत्याहुः एकीभवति न स्पृशतीत्याहुः एकीभवति न विजानातीत्याहुः तस्य हैतस्य हृदयस्य अग्रम् प्रद्योतते तेन प्रद्योतेन एष आत्मा निष्क्रामते चक्षुष्टो वा मूर्ध्नो वा अन्येभ्यो वा शरीरदेशेभ्यः तमुत्क्रामन्तं प्राणोनुत्क्रामते प्राणोनुत्क्रामन्तं सर्वे प्राणा अनुत्क्रामन्ते सविज्ञानो भवते सविज्ञानमेवान्वक्रामते तं विद्या कर्मणि समन्वारभेते पूर्वप्रज्ञा च तेन प्रद्योतेन एष आत्मा निष्कामते चक्षुष्टो वा मूर्ध्नो वा अन्येभ्यो वा शरीरदेशेभ्यः So Bhāṣyakara explained how the departure of the Atma really is nothing but the departure on account of the agents of the subtle body. Tattva ca Atma Chaitanya Jyotihi Sarvada Abhyaktataram. That in the subtle body the Atma Chaitanya Jyoti is always manifest. Tadupadi dvara Atmani Janma Marana Gamana Gamanadi Sarvikriya Lakshanastam Vyavaharaha. That it is due to the agency of the subtle body that this Vyavahara of the birth and death, coming and going, all of this is said to be there in Atma. Tadatmakam hi dvasashvidam karanam buddhyadi. That this is the subtle body consists of these 12 elements, that is 5 organs of perception, action, mind and intellect. Tat sutram, tat jivanam, sahantaratma, jagataha, tastushascha. That alone is called sutram, which joins the whole universe together. Jivanam, that's what keeps the world or keeps the gross body alive. Sahantaratma, that is said to be the antaratma, the indwelling self of all the beings. Jagataha, tastushascha, of the jagat, that is moving, so gacchati the jagat, and sthitaha, tastusha, that which is immobile, so mobile and immobile of the entire creation, that's antaratma, meaning that there is something called subtle body. The reason why all of this has to be stated, or all this has to be presented as pramanam, as evidence for the existence of subtle bodies, because it is subtle. Meaning that it is not evident to the perception, and therefore that there is something called subtle body. Because what we perceive is only the gross body, and therefore that's all is considered to be Atma. And therefore when the body dies, Atma is said to have gone away and come and so forth. So Bhāṣyakara says, no, all of this upachara is there, figuratively all of this is said to be Atma, about Atma, only on account of this activity is taking place at the level of subtle body. Tena pradyodena hrudayagra prakashena nishkramanaha kenamagena nishkramadeti. So when thus the tube of the heart, the passage for departure, when it gets brightened up, which means that a vritti arises there which reveals the nature of the next embodiment. Kena margena nishkramati, by what path does he depart? Chakshustova, he may depart from the eyes. Aditya loka praptya nittam jnanam karma vaidisyat, If his upasana, the meditation and the rituals are of such that to qualify him to go to the world of Aditya, the sun, then he will depart from the eyes. Murdnuva brahmaloka prapti nimittam chet. And if his karma and upasanas qualify him for the brahmaloka, then he will depart from from the crown of the head. Anyebhyo va sharir deshebhya sharir avayabhya yatha karma yatha sutam. In keeping with his karma and upasana, he may depart from any aperture opening from the body. Tam vijnānātmānam utkramantam paralokāya prasthitam paralokāya udbhudakutam ityartha. So thus, tam vijnānātmānam, this jivatma, utkramantam, when he is departing, paralokāya prasthitam, he is now all set for paraloka, the next embodiment. Paralokāya Udbhuta akutam, which means that the abhipraya, that means the knowledge or the thought of the next embodiment has arisen now in him. At that time, when he is departing, when the Atma departs, pranaha, so tam rajasthaniyam, so the Atma or the Jiva Atma who is in the place of the king, when he departs, pranaha sarvadikari sthaniya rajmaheva anutramate, and the prana, the vital air, which is in the place of the minister. So he also follows. Tamcha pranam anutkramantam vagadeha sarve prana anutkramanti. And thus when the prana proceeds, then others, the sense organs, which are parivarasthaniyaha, so of the nature of the parivara, the attendants, all of them also, they depart. Yatha pradhana anvachikhyasayam nadu kramena. So all of this is being said. The reason why a certain krama is being stated, that first the Atma departs, then the prana departs, then the sense organs depart, that is merely to state the pradhanyam, the importance. That of all of these, Atma is the most important, the prana is next in importance, and the sense organs are next in importance. Nadu kramena sarthavadgyanam iham vivakshitam. Not that the departure really takes place in the sequence one after the other, because you know that all of them depart together. Tada esha atma savijñāno bhavati swapnaiva. At this time when he is departing, so savijñānaha, he becomes possessed of the knowledge as it happens at the time of dream. Vishesha vijñānavan bhavati karmavasāt na svatantraha. That vishesha vijñāna of the nature of the next embodiment happens at that time. But that vijnanam, or that brightening up, or that illumination of what the next destination is going to be, takes place karma vasat, because of karma, na svatantrena. It is not that this jivatma is swatantra, he is independent or free to decide what that illumination is going to be. Svatantrena hi savijnanatve sarva kritakritya syat. Because if one had the choice of what that vijnanam or what that illumination should be, that is what the next destination should be. Sarvaha kritakritya syat. Nobody would want to enter the next another embodiment. Everybody would want to merge into Brahman and become liberated, and thus would become kritakritya, fulfilled. Naivatu tallabhyade. But we do not find that happening. That shows that this illumination or the knowledge is something that happens as a result of the karma. Ataevaha vyasaha sada tadbhava iti. So it is said that what happens at that time is the sum total of the results of the kind of bhavanas that he is entertaining throughout the life. Karma tadbhavimanena antahkarana vritti visheshashrita vasanatmaka vishesha vijñāyana sarvalokaha etasmin kale savijñāno bhavati. So this is true of every creature, every living being. Karma tu udbhavimanena antahkarana vritti vishesha. This karma that actually arouses a particular vritti vishesha, a particular vritti or a thought form, vasanatmaka vishesha vijñānena, which is of the nature of the vasana of the next embodiment, sarvalokaha etasmin kale savijñāno bhavati. I guess this must happen to other creatures also, although this is a description only of a human being, but this must happen to any creature which is departing, I guess, from the body. For the simple reason that ultimately Jivatma, regardless of what the upadhi is there, the subtle body of Jivatma is essentially the same for everyone. Except the karma and upasanas are different, otherwise the Jivatma is the same, possess supposedly the same faculties and everything. And the idea is that one's journey is determined by the karma. So as I imagine myself, is that it is when this Jivatma departs from the human body. At that time, all the embodiments that is going to take up until the next human embodiment takes place, whatever it is that is going to go through, all of that is determined right here by the karma. Swakarma dutena javena nitaha, and so led by their own karma. So whatever is the most predominant karma, that is what determines what that knowledge is going to be at the time of departure from a given embodiment. And that will determine what the next embodiment will be, where the most predominant karma will be exhausted, and then the next predominant set of karma will then become predominant, and they will become manifest to determine what the next embodiment will be. So in that embodiment, the last part will be determined by the most predominant karma obtaining at that time. That will determine the next embodiment. They will be again exhausted there. When that is exerted, then yet next predominant karma. So idea is that at any given point in time, that which is the most powerful or predominant karma, so that gets to manifest. Other karmas of the weight, they return. And so that is how, until a particular combination happens, which will qualify him to again gain a human birth, until then the different embodiments will take place. I would imagine that the whole journey is determined by karma. And that's the reason why in other yonis where no kartrutva is there, it is not that the karma done in that particular yoni. So if the Jivatma is born in any yoni other than human being, supposedly there is no kartrutva, meaning that there is no new karma accumulated. So then the question is, how do they determine what the next yoni is going to be? In this manner it must be determined. So sarva loka hai tasmin kale savijnana bhavati. The idea is that at the time of death, at the time of departure from the body, the vijnanam or the knowledge of what the next embodiment is going to be must take place. This is how it is said here. That means the jiva himself knows as though, that what is the next embodiment is going to be. Savijnanam evacha gantavyam anvakramati anugacchali. So along with the knowledge, he goes to the next embodiment. Vishesha vijnanodbhasam eva ityartha. So that vijnana which is Vishesha Vijnanodbhasram Gantavyam, that Gantavya, the next destination, which is illumined by or revealed by the specific knowledge. Tasmat tatkale swatantriyartham yoga dharmam sevanam parisankhyana abhyasasya vishishta punyopayasya shraddhadhanahi paralokartibhi apramattahi kartavyahi. And the lesson to be learned from all of this is that in order that the thought that happens at that time is something that is what I desire, then I must live a life accordingly, a life of yoga and dharma and vishisht punya upachasya, and also specific meritorious actions must be performed. Sarva shastranam yatmano viveyahartha duscharitatcho paramanam. This is what all the shastra, the within the shastra tells us. Sarva shastranam yatnataha videya artaha. All the shastras exert in instructing us to lead a virtuous life. Duscharitacha uparamanam, and this is from what we call duscharita, sinful action. Nahi tat kale shakyave kinchit sampadetum. It is not possible that one can do it at that time. That the last moment that I can sampada, that I can actually acquire some virtue, etc. is not possible, because at that time the swatantrata or the freedom is not there. And therefore, so this is where we are on page 1190. Nanu purvam yateshta cheshtam krutva maranakale sarameta sampadeshyate. So maybe during the lifetime he does whatever he pleases to do, maranakale, at time of death, sarameta sampadeshyate. then he will acquire all this yoga and the dharma and the punya upachaya, etc. at the time of death? Answer is no. Nahi tat kale shakyave kinchit sampadayitum. It is not possible to do anything at that time. Karmana niyamanasya swatantriya bhavad. Because one who is led by one's own karma does not have freedom at that time. The idea is that one exercises freedom at the time of performing the karma. Karma means an action that is deliberately performed. That alone is what is called karma. Not just actions that take place without a particular deliberation. So breathing and opening and closing eyes, or even eating, drinking and stuff like that, which even take place in the normal course, where no particular raga-dveshas are expressed. All those karmas, they do not really count, or they do not create any effect. But any karma or any action that is performed deliberately, with a certain intention, with a certain agenda, a certain intention to accomplish, so all of that karma, so that will be called karma. And that is what determines, so that is where our free will is expressed. The idea is that human being expresses a free will, and the free will gets expressed while any deliberate action is performed. So what the scriptures tell us is, so that is when I, by using my free will, I am in fact determining my own destiny to that extent. So any time I use my free will to do or not to do something, at that time it is I who is by my own sweet will is in fact putting a little dot or a line in the blueprint of my future. And that's the reason why one must be very alert. Apramattahi kartavyahe. So one must be alert and vigilant in using one's free will. And that is where the scriptures have a scope. That there is something called free will. Even though very often human being does not use that free will. So whenever I act under the impulse of likes and dislikes, that free will is as good as not available. Indriyasyarthe ragadvesho vyavasthitau. So whenever ragadveshas compel me or impel me to do something, the free will is as good as not available. Tayornava samagachet, and therefore one should not come under the sway of this ragadveshas or any kind of impulses. Tauhyasya paripanthinau, because they are the paripanthi, they are my enemies on my path of my well-being. So this is our Indian scriptures, and all the scriptures have basically recognized this. That the human being has a freedom to determine his or her own destiny, because human being has been given this faculty of choice of the free will, and therefore that's all the freedom that one has. The only freedom that one has is in performance of an action. Karmanyavadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. So in any situation there is certain freedom I have, and that is to determine how to respond to a situation. That's all. I do not have necessarily the freedom to create the situation. It gets created. We can say that the situation gets created on account of the past actions. That's okay. But in the present, I do not have the freedom to create the situation. Even though the situation that I confront can be said to be the result of the actions I myself performed in the past. But at least at the present, I do not have the choice or the freedom to determine what the situation would be. But then also the choice that I have is what to do in that situation. So Bṛhadāraṇyaka Swami always used to say, so what I confront is the prarabdha, and what I do with it is the purushartha. That's how it is generally decided. So what I confront is, you can say, prarabdha means the result of my actions, and what I do, the way I respond to the situation is the purushartha, is my free will. So all the shastras always focus their attention, direct our attention to the proper use of the free will. And so that free will has already been used throughout the life. While performing a variety of actions every moment, the free will has already been used, and therefore the destiny is already determined, and therefore at that time I do not have the freedom to determine my destiny. Karmana niyamanasya swatantriya abhavad. So mostly the human being does not have swatantriya even while he is alive. Because again, his impulses alone determine. Many actions are impulsive actions, or many actions are mechanical actions. two kinds of action. So one is impulsive action and impulse of likes and dislikes, or kama, krodha, lobha, etc. that I act, or I just act without, any knowledge at all. That means without any awareness I do a lot of things. That's the mechanical action. Like I take shower, I don't even know that I finish my brush or shower, or sometimes even my food, or that I finish my walk. Many things I do not know. So many actions take place mechanically. And many of the actions take place impulsively. Perhaps very few actions take place deliberately. That is where they talk about what they call mindfulness. So one should be mindful with reference to what one is doing at a given moment. So certain traditions give a lot of importance to mindfulness. Like Zen Buddhism, etc., they would ask always to be alert and do everything. Any movement that takes place must be done mindfully, must be done alert, awarefully. So mindfulness, awarefulness is emphasized a great deal, and that is always required. That is what we call dhamma. So dhamma means indriya nigraha, meaning the discipline obtaining the level of action. Shamaha is a discipline obtaining the level of thought, and dhamma is a discipline obtaining the level of action. Now Anandagiri says, karmana niyamanatve manamaha. That a jiva is in fact led by his own karma. For that the manam, the evidence is being stated by Bhāṣyakara, punyeti. Punyo vai punyena karmana bhavati papah papena ityuktam. Punyo vai punyena karmana bhavati. One becomes punyena karmana. If one has performed what we call the virtuous actions, punyo bhavati, devadihi bhavati, he goes to the urdhvayoni. Papah papena iti, sthavaradihi. If papa are the sins or unbecoming actions, sin means an unbecoming action. So that is important. That's the reason why nobody other than human beings can have act sinfully, because they never act in an unbecoming manner. Only human being has the freedom to even act in an unbecoming manner. Therefore, to act in a becoming manner requires a deliberation and self-control and certain values and so forth. Whereas a dog always acts as a dog, so his behavior is never unbecoming. Therefore, he can never perform sin. And so he never commits sin. He can never commit sin. Whereas human being can commit sin by acting in a manner that is unbecoming. So, papah papena. And so one becomes papaha. Sthavaradihi. The lower yonis will be there if one has predominance of what we call sin or unbecoming behavior. With Uktam, this is already said in the 3 to 13. So I will say it much earlier. Then Anandagiri says, Tarihi punyopachayadeva yasokta anartha nivrutte vyartham tattvajnanam iti ashankyaha. Now when you talk too much about the karma and about punya, etc., then Vedantis are always concerned that person will get stuck with this punya, So they must remind you. Tarhi means jivasya sarvatha karma anusaritve sati. So when this is the case, that jiva is always led by his karma, punyopachayadeva, then all we need to do is to accumulate punya or the virtue. Yasokta anartha nivrittehe. Yasokta anartha is jananadi. So if the anartha nivritti, if the elimination of all the anartha if there is a cessation of all the suffering, such as birth and death, if that can be accomplished by punya karma, then that's all we should do. Vyartham tattvajnanam. Then tattvajnanam has no need, there is no need for tattvajnanam if punya karma or virtuous actions alone can assure us of the destination of our life. Then what's the need of the knowledge? Self-knowledge. Iti ashankyaha etasyedi. So then Bhāṣyakara must point out that Vedas have two sections, Karma Kanda as well as Jnana Kanda. So what he says so far is Karma Kanda, where there is the where the scripture talks about karma. But there is another kanda also, which also the human being requires for a total elimination of anartha. That by karma or by virtuous life, that one does eliminate anartha or suffering to a large measure. But the suffering cannot be totally eliminated unless the knowledge is. So that also must be pointed out. Etasya. Says Bhashyakara, Etasya hi anarthasya upashama upaya vidhanaya sarvashakhopanishadaha pravrittaha nahi तद्विहित उपाय अनुसेवनम मुक्त्वा आत्यंतिकः अस्य अनर्थस्य उपशम उपायः अस्ति. एतस्य footnote number 6 एतस्य ही अनर्थस्य अपरोक्षस्य जननादेः. अपरोक्ष means pratyaksha actually. So this jananadi, etasya is the point of something that is evident to us, something that we experience. Etasya hi anarthasya. This anartha or this calamity or this suffering of the nature of the birth and death and so forth, upashama upaya vidhanaya. So upashama means cessation. In order to bring about a cessation or an elimination of this suffering of the nature of birth and death, upaya vidhanaya, to enjoin the upaya or the means of total elimination of all this suffering, sarvasakho upanishadaha pravrittaha. The Upanishads obtaining in all the recensions have this only purpose of enjoining that or teaching that which will bring about a total cessation of the suffering such as janma marana. Siddhanagiri upashama upaya tattvajnanam. So upashama upaya vidhanaya. Vidhana for enjoining the upaya, the means of elimination of the suffering. So that is upashama upaya tattvajnanam. So tattvajnana means tattvajnana vidhanaya. In fact, Bhashyakara in the earlier section, in the earlier book also there was a discussion how in fact there is an enjoyment of knowledge. So at one point Bhashyakara has also explained or discussed the Upanishad enjoins knowledge. Although true, conventionally we say that in knowledge there cannot be any enjoyment, there cannot be any instruction, but then that one must strive for knowledge. Their instruction can be. In the process of knowledge then there is no free will involved. That when my eyes are open and when the color is there in front of me, then the perception of color will take place. That does not involve my free will. But free will is definitely involved in opening the eyes and contacting the object that I have to know. So there definitely free will is involved, and therefore the Upanishad also can say Atma vare drashtavyam. So that is looked upon as an vidhi, as an enjoyment that one must know the Atma. And Shrotavyaha, Mantavyaha, Nidhyasitavyaha, all of these also are looked upon as vidhi because a free will is involved in that. As a result of this, when the knowledge does take place, no free will is involved. So jnana is vastutantram, alright, but all of this involves karma. Even shravanam also involves an effort, and mananam, nidhyasanam, each one of these involves an effort, and effort involves a free will, and there a direction is required. Therefore, drashtavyaha, shrotavyaha, all of these are also looked upon as vidhi. Therefore, anarthasya upashama vidhanaya. Of course, vidhana need not mean vidhi. Here vidhana means prakashanam, as Anandagiri explains. So, tattvajnanam, tasya vidhanam, prakashanam, tadartham. In short, all the Upanishads are devoted to revealing tattvajnanam, the self-knowledge and knowledge of the truth, which is a means for the elimination of all the suffering. Then says Anandagiri, Devata dhyanat anartha nivartishyate kim tattvajnanena iti. So why not? Maybe you are worshipping the Devata, that we shall be able to eliminate, by the grace of the Devata, that we shall be able to eliminate all the suffering in our life. Kim tattvajnanena. So why worry about the self-knowledge? So idea is that there will be always an argument to somehow avoid this tattvajnana. That means in some ways try to establish that karma of some kind or other is enough. Either karma of the nature of virtuous actions or karma of the nature of the worship or the upasana, the meditation. If karma can eliminate the suffering, why worry about knowledge? Iti ashankyaha nahi iti Bhāṣyakara said, nahi tadvihida upaya anusevanam muktva atyandikaha asya anarthasya upashama upaya asti. So tadvihida upaya anusevanam muktva. So muktva means rute, without the upaya, the means that has been revealed by the Upanishad, atyandikaha asya anarthasya upashama upaya nasti. So asya anarthasya atyandika. The upashama upaya is a little, so there is no atyandika upaya. Atyandika upashama must be there. So that is the reason why the footnote number 1 and footnote number 2, number 1 says upaya. If you take the reading as it is yatha-shrutam, then it is atyandika upaya. So atyandika means unfailing. Upaya means. So unfailing means for the cessation of all the suffering cannot be other than anusevanam, So anusevanam. So tadvihida upaya anusevanam, vina. So without actually practicing the upaya, the means that is stated in the Upanishad, there is no atyandika asya anarthasya upaya, upasham upaya. So that it doesn't quite fit in. But anyway, therefore the footnotes try to clarify that. Upaya atyandikatvam atyandika upasama janakatvat aupacharikatvam vedavyam. There cannot be atyandikatvam, the certainty about the upaya. We want the certainty of the result. So we want that means by which the result is assured. But here, as Bhāṣyakara, or as the reading is, that there is that uncertain upaya, uncertain means. What we want is uncertain result. But here, Bhāṣyakara says there cannot be an uncertain means other than practicing the means that are enjoined by the Upanishads. So, aupacharikam vedavyam. All we have to say that the atyandikam, the certainty with reference to upaya, is the aupacharikam. What we want for sure is the cessation of the suffering. So footnote number 2 says upashama upaya iti. Upashama apaya iti va chedaha. Upashamopaya, So we can say upashamo, and when a is elided there, upashamo apaya iti va chedaha. That seems to be better. Apaya is upashama vivaranam. So apaya means elimination or destruction. Upashama means apaya. That's how then. So anarthasya atyandika upashama. That is okay. Then atyandika upashama, meaning the cessation of all the suffering once and for all. So that cannot be accomplished unless one practices the upaya, the means that is revealed by the Upanishads. In short, there is no means other than the knowledge, not karma, not upasana, but knowledge alone is therefore atyandika upashama. For the total cessation, for the total and definite cessation, this is the only way. Because karma nobody knows. Even if karma bring about some cessation of the suffering, still it is uncertain, upasana also, because the result comes in future and we do not even know what the result will be when a given karma or meditation is done. But here of course it is certain, and that they can eliminate the suffering in a relative sense, whereas this can eliminate suffering, this will eliminate suffering in an absolute manner. तद्विहिते इति तत्शब्देन प्रकृताः सर्वशाखोपनिषदः गृह्यन्ते. So, तद्विहित उपायानुसेवनम. तद्विहितेन means तत्शब्देन प्रकृताः सर्वशाखोपनिषदः गृह्यन्ते. All the Upanishads and all the recensions must be accepted here. So, as a pramanam, and whatever means they reveal is the definite means for elimination of the suffering. Then Ananda says, Vidhantarena anartha dhamsa asiddhau phalitamaha. Vidhantarena. Okay, then this is the footnote number 9. Tattva jnana vina. So tattva jnana vina, anartha dvamsa siddhau. That anartha, that means the suffering cannot be eliminated other than tattva-jnanam. So when that is established, phalitamaha, then what follows is this tasmaditi. Tasmad atraiva Upanishad vihitopaye yatna parahi bhavitavyam ityeshaha prakaranaarthaha. Tasmat, footnote number 3, tattva jnanam vina upayantarena anarthasya antyantika nivritti abhava. So as we just saw, that there is no means other than tattva jnanam that will bring about a total cessation and a definite cessation of the pain or suffering. Therefore, atraiva, here indeed, while one is alive, Upanishad vihita upaye yatna parehi bhavitavyam iti esha prakaranaarthaha. So yatna parehi, so those who are striving, Upanishad vihita upaye bhavitavyam, that one must devote oneself to the practice of the upaya, the means that is enjoined or revealed by the Upanishad. Yatna parehi bhavitavyam, one must strive to practice that upaya or to in fact live and gain that knowledge. This is the prakaranartha. In short, one must devote oneself to the procurement of this knowledge as revealed by the Upanishads. This is the prakaranartha. So Bhashyakara is at pains, to in fact to find out here what is the purpose of all this passage, So some purpose must be determined here. Therefore Bhashyakara says this is prakaranartha, apramedi kartavya and so forth, that we should learn from this that since there is no swatantrata at the time of death, we must use this swatantrata when we have it, at the time of when we are alive. Therefore, in performance of proper actions and meditations. And secondly also, that not only that karma and upasana can bring about a total cessation of suffering, it is only the knowledge can do that, and therefore one must be devoted to knowledge while here, that is while one is alive. Vrittam anudya prashnapurvakam uttarvakyam avatarya vyachaste. Vrittam anudya, now having reiterated what has gone by, prashnapurvakam uttarvakyam avatarya vyachaste. So, first of all, Bhashyakara also says what is vrittam, what has gone by, vrittam anudya. Then prashnapurvakam, so stating what has gone by, and with a question, Bhashyakara introduces the next section here. Sakatavad ityadina. Sakatavad sambrudha sambharaha utsarjanyate ityuktam kim punaha tasya paralokaya pravuttasya pachyadanam shakatika sambharasthaniyam gatvava paralokam yadbhungte shariradhyarambhakam cha yattat kimiti. So all these questions arise, prashna purvakam. All these questions arise now. Shakatavat sambrut sambharaha. So sambharaha, one now is now equipped. So like that cart, like the carter or the owner of the cart. So when he is traveling, how he is possessed of all the belongings, and all the requisite things that are required, all of these are loaded in the cart. And with a loaded cart, the owner is now traveling. Sambhuta sambharaha utsarjan yati. And he travels making all kinds of noises, So similarly also, here, idyuktam. So Jivatma also departs from here or travels from here, making all kinds of noises, like a person who is traveling the cart with all kinds of the household materials loaded in them. Idyuktam. So that was said in the previous Brahmana, in the 35th Kandika. So 4.3.35, this was stated there. Kim punah tasya paralokaya pravrutasya pathyadanam. Now that the jiva is departing from here, tasya jivatma, of this jivatma, paralokaya pravrutasya prasthitasya, now that he is now all set to move into the next embodiment, kim punah tasya pathyadanam. So what is patyadanam? So what is the food, etc., that he is going to have for his path? And so, what kind of food he is carrying with him that is required for traveling along his way? During the traveling along the way, Shārkateka Sambharasthaniyam. Like the food, etc., that may be loaded in the cart, similarly also, what kind of food he has for him to sustain himself during this travel. Gatva va paralokam yad bhungte. Also he is carrying, that fellow is carrying in his car all his household stuff. So reaching his destination also, he carries with him whatever it is that he is going to eat there, or whatever it is that he is going to enjoy experience there. So paralokam va gatva, and having, so on the path also he requires something to sustain himself. Having reached the paraloka, the next embodiment, yad bhungte, whatever he is going to require to experience the next embodiment, that also he should carry. That means when one moves from one destination to the other, then whatever is going to be required in that destination also, one carries from here. Sharirādi ārambakam cha yat tat kimiti. And what is it that is carrying with him from here that will create the next embodiment for him? So you must make all preparations for the next destination. The next destination must be kept ready, and then one must carry with oneself whatever is required to sustain oneself along the way, and then what is required to sustain oneself having reached the destination. These three things. Similarly also, when the jivatma departs from here, what does he carry with him to sustain him along the path? And then what is he carrying with him so for him to gain experience in the next embodiment? And thirdly, what is he carrying with him to create that next embodiment? Sharirādi ārambakam. So sharira, body and the sense organs, all of these must be created. So what is it he is carrying with him? Yattat kimiti. What it is that he is, that will provide him all these requirements. Here, of course, will be told sambharaha. All the belongings are vidya, karma, pura prajna rupaha. That's the idea here. So, tam vidya karmani samanvarabhete pura prajna cha. That's a statement made very famous. Tam vidya karmani samanvarabhete. Vidya and the karma. All the vidya, the upasana and the karma, the ritual that is performed, they all accompany him. Pura prajna cha. And the earlier wisdom also accompanies him. So not only the wisdom is acquired now, but the wisdom that he has been acquiring all along, that also follows him. So that becomes his pathyadanam. That becomes his food on the way, and that becomes also, that will sustain him in the next embodiment, and that also will determine what embodiment he is going to get. So says Bhāṣyakara, Uchyate tam paralokaya gacchantam atmanam vidya karmani vidya cha karma cha vidya karmani vidya sarva prakara vihita pratisiddha cha avihita अप्रतिषिद्धा च तथा कर्म विहितं प्रतिषिद्धं च अविहितं अप्रतिषिद्धं च समन्वारभेते सम्यक् अन्वारभेते अन्वालभेते अनुगच्छतः पूर्वप्रज्ञा च पूर्वानुभूत विषया प्रज्ञा पूर्व प्रज्ञा अतीत कर्म फलानुभव वासना इत्यर्थः. So So Uchyate Shrutya, Shruti tells us, Tam Vidya Karmani Samanvarabhe. Tam means what? Paralokaya Gachantamatmanam. This Jivatma now, who is proceeding to the next embodiment. So Paraloka, Loka here means own embodiment. It can be anywhere. It can be Loka in terms of Swarga, etc. It can be Loka in terms of the earth. So, in short, he is going to enter the next embodiment, that's for sure. So therefore we say that whether he goes to heavens or whether any kind, the embodiment must be there. He cannot be without an embodiment. So even though some people talk about the ghost and stuff, that is also an embodiment. So, some kind of an embodiment must be there, and that is determined by his vidya, karma, purva prajna, etc. Sutam paralokaya gachantam atmanam vidya karmani. Vidya cha karma cha vidya karmani. Vidya and karma. Vidya sarva prakara. Whatever vidya, whatever knowledge he has gained here. And by knowledge we should not mean the specific form of knowledge. That means not that the physics and chemistry, etc. that he has learned, that goes with him. Because when one is born, nothing is remembered. Although he may have been a PhD, he may be a great, wise and knowledgeable person in the past, but he is born totally, ignorant, totally blank. So we would say that vidya here means that the wisdom that he gains from whatever he has studied. Whatever upasanas, meditations he must perform, deliberations he must perform, and so that is what we must understand as vidya. Not specific kind of knowledge, but the end result of that knowledge. So upasana also he must perform. Good, bad and indifferent, all kinds of upasanas he must perform, all kinds of thoughts he may have entertained. And so the end result of that is what he carries with him. That's what he carries. But that's the reason why people in this life have all kinds of visions also. People gain all kinds of experiences which they have not had. So Swamiji, I had the darshan of such and such devata, of such and such person and things like that, about whom I have never thought. Sometimes people have it in the dreams, sometimes they have it in the waking state also, while they are doing their prayers and meditations, that they see things. And which they have never seen, at least they have not deliberated upon that, or they are not familiar with that in this lifetime. Then we have to say that that is the result of the upasanas one must have performed in the past. So then samskaras are brought, and it's quite possible that those upasanas may again manifest themselves as specific darshana, as specific visions or experiences. All of that can happen on account of the carry forward from the past verse. So vidya, all kinds of vidya, vihita, pratisiddha, avihita, apratisiddha, in short. So good, bad, indifferent, whatever vidya here means meditation. So deliberate thinking that he must have carried out. So good, bad and indifferent. So vihita, enjoined, pratisiddha, of course that is prohibited, that also he may have done. Or avihita, apratisiddha, not necessarily enjoined or prohibited, that also kind of thoughts he may have entertained. La karma, vihitam, pratisiddham, and actions also he must have performed, deliberate actions, in keeping what is enjoined in the scriptures, or transgressing what the scriptures say, or avihitam, in the day-to-day activities, apratisiddham. So neither enjoined nor prohibited, this kind of activities, going and coming and whatever it is, so eating, drinking, breathing, all of this is included. So all vidya and all karma, all of these are included, So all of these are listed, pratisiddha, avihita, apratisiddha, vihitam, karma, etc. So all of this stuff, apratisiddham, avihitam, etc. So all of this, anyway. So, tatha karma, samanvarabhete, samyak anvarabhete. All of that accompany him. So anvar labhete. So anvar. So arambha is arabham, So anyway, that means all of them obtain at that time. So anugacchata, all of them follow, or all of them accompany him. And pura prajna cha, and also the pura prajna, the past wisdom. Purva anubhuta vishaya prajna. This is what we meant. So purva anubhuta vishaya prajna. The wisdom that he acquired from the past experiences, all of that he carries. So thing is that he must go through the experience, the results of the actions that he has performed. He must experience the result of the upasanas or meditations he has done. At the same time, comes with him all the wisdom that is acquired, all the growth that may have taken place, let us say emotional maturity, etc., that he had earlier, or lack of maturity, whatever it is. All that also goes with him. So he is born with the maturity. Whatever spiritual growth that has taken place in the past, that comes with him, plus all the outstanding karma that he has to experience, and the outstanding upasanas, of which the results are not yet experienced, all of that also come with him. So he brings these things. Not only he brings just the outstanding karma and upasana, but he also brings with him whatever kind of wisdom he has acquired from his past experiences. And that wisdom also is not in specific wisdom, as I said, in terms of physics or chemistry, or even in terms of scriptures. Although some people tell us sometimes, Swami, when I listen to the Upanishads, I feel as though I already heard this, I know it. And they're sincere about it. Swami, I feel that I know it. And so they have never studied anything, and still when they are told something, they say, this I know. And so one finds a familiarity with the specific topic. Not only familiarity with the spiritual things in general, but sometimes with the specific statements also they find familiarity. And therefore, whatever prajna, whatever wisdom one has acquired, that wisdom comes with oneself in the form of vasanas and in the form of subtle impressions. So karmas also come in the form of subtle impressions, the upasanas also come in the form of subtle impressions, and the earlier wisdom or the earlier growth or the lack of it, whatever, also comes in the form of the wisdom. The idea is that it is not that one brings with oneself merely the outstanding karma and upasana, but whatever karmas and upasana that are performed, of which the results have been acquired, the results have been experienced, all those experiences have also created some impressions on him. They have formed him. And so that personality also he brings with him. So he brings with him a certain personality, which is a result of all the lives that he has led. And so, Purva Anubhuta Vishaya Prajna. Prajna, the wisdom, which is Purva Anubhuta Vishaya, of the nature of what he experienced in the past. That's called Purva Prajna. So Purva Prajna is explained this way. Purva Anubhuta Vishaya Prajna. Purva Prajna. Says Atida Karma Phala Anubhava Vasana Ityartha. Atida Karma, footnote number 1, Purvotpanna Vidya Karma Ityartha. So Purvotpanna Vidya Karma, which he has already experienced. So earlier Vidya and the Karma, the Upasanas and Karma, which took place earlier, which he has already experienced, and which experiences have left marks on him. So Atida Karma Phala Anubhava Vasana. Atida Karma Phala Anubhava. So that he has experienced the Atida Karma Phala, the phala of the karma and the upasanas performed in the past. So anubhava, all the anubhavas or experiences have left vasanas or impressions upon him, and in fact that is what the person is. At any moment the person is nothing but the sum total of all the experiences one has gained. And every experience leaves a certain mark or impression upon the person. And what a person is nothing but the sum total of all these impressions. This is what we have to say. Inasmuch as the present is the product of the past, and past is nothing but the experience of the results of the karma and the upasanas one must have performed, and therefore one is, at the present what one is determined by the past. So at the time of death, the person has now acquired all this wisdom, or acquired maturity, or acquired whatever it is. As a result of his past experiences, all of that personality also the person carries. Because his journey must continue from where he left here. So it's not, let's say, as the 6th chapter says, that he will continue his spiritual journey also at the point where he has left. Aneka janma samsiddha tato yati param gatim. So one becomes accomplished in course of a number of lifetimes, a number of lifespans. And so all that is acquired also must go with him. And the sukha dukkha that one experiences in this life are all due to the result of the karma. But the sukha dukkha can be there for everybody. The pleasure and pain are to be experienced with the people who are evolved, and they are to be experienced with people who are not evolved. So we find nobody is free from the experience of pleasure and pain, regardless of whether a person is spiritually evolved or not. So those pleasure and pain are the result of actions. But the fact that a person is evolved or not evolved, or whatever, wherever the person is the result of the pura prajna. This is what we have to say. Not only in terms of spiritual knowledge, in terms of the worldly knowledge also, vyavaharic knowledge also. So one acquires a certain amount of skill with reference to some vyavaharic karma also. Even that also one brings, as Vashyakara will explain. So, pura prajna atita karma phala anubhavasana ityartha. So, purva utpanna vidya karma ityartha. So, vidya and the karma which had been experienced earlier. Okay, I think this morning we should stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Bādarayanam Sutrabhāṣya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Eki bhavate na pashyati tyaho. Eki bhavate na jigrhati tyaho. Eki bhavate na rasayate tyaho. Eki bhavate na vadati tyaho. Eki bhavate na shrunoti tyaho. Eki bhavate न मनुते त्याहो. एकी भवते न स्पृशति त्याहो. एकी भवते न विजानाति त्याहो. तस्य है तस्य हृदयस्याग्रं प्रद्योतते. तेन प्रद्योतेन एष आत्मा निष्क्रामते. चक्षुष्टोर्वा मूर्ध्नो वा अन्येभ्यो वा शरीरदेशेभ्यः तमुत्क्रामन्तं प्राणानुत्क्रामन्ते. प्राणमनुत्क्रामन्तं सर्वे प्राणामनुत्क्रामन्ते. सविज्ञानो भवति सविज्ञानमेवान्ववक्रामते. तं विद्या कर्मणि समन्वारभेते. पूर्वप्रज्ञा च तम विद्या कर्मणि समन्वारभेदे पूर्व प्रज्ञा च. The vidya, the upasana, the meditations, karma, the rituals, whatever he has earned on his account, all of these accompany him. Pura prajna cha, and the past wisdom also accompanies him. So on the page 1191, Bhashyakara introduced this section with a question. Sakadavat sambhrut sambharaha utsarjanyati yuktam. It has been said that the Atma departs from this body making noise like a loaded cart. Kim punah tasya paralokaya pravrutasya pathyadanam. What food that he will eat on his way? So this Jivatma, who is now set to go into the next embodiment, paraloka, what is the food that he will have for his passage? Shakatadi sambharasthaniyam. So comparable to the various materials that have been loaded in the cart, similarly also, what does he have for him to use on his way? Gatvava paralokam yad bhungte kim tat. And what it is that he will then experience having reached the destination. Sharirādyārambhakam chayat tat kimiti. And what it is that will form or make up the next body. So he has to build the next house. Having gone there, he has to live there and gain the experiences. And even while going there on the way also, he has to sustain himself. So how does he sustain himself? What kind of food does he sustain himself on the way? Having gone there, what it is that he eats or experiences, and how does he make his new house? So sharirādyārambhakam cha, what it is that becomes the material cause for the body and the sense organs, all of these needs to be replied. Uchyate tam paralokāya gachantam ātmānam vidya karmani samanvara bhede. So thus this Atma is going to paraloka, the next embodiment, the vidya, the knowledge, and karma, the actions, they accompany him. They follow him. Vidya cha karma cha vidya karmani. That's a dvandva samasa, that which is vidya as well as karma. Vidya sarva prakara vihita pratisiddha cha avita aprasiddha cha. All kinds of knowledge, whatever, good, bad or indifferent. So that is enjoined. He may have performed upasanas as enjoined by the scriptures. He may have performed upasanas which is prohibited by the scriptures. He may have thought of things that are just not enjoined, not prohibited. Also, tatha karma vihitam pratisiddham cha. He may have deliberately performed actions as enjoined by the scriptures, or he may also have performed actions that are prohibited by the scriptures. Again, he may have performed actions that are not enjoined, avihitam gamanadi, like going, etc. Apratisiddham, and that is not prohibited, netra pakshma vikshepadi, like opening, closing of the eyelids, etc., or movement of eyelashes and stuff like that. So all of these are the actions that he may have performed. All of this, the idea that everything accompanies him. Samanvara bhede, samyak anvara bhede, anvala bhede, anugacchataha ityarthaha. That means all of them accompany him. That means everything, all the baggage is carried along with him. Nothing remains here. Everything good, bad or indifferent that I do and think of, all of that comes to me. Pura prajñāca, and the past earlier wisdom also. Purva anubhuta vishaya prajñā, pura prajñā. So purva anubhuta vishaya prajñā, the wisdom that he has gained, whatever kind of wisdom also prohibited, enjoined, prohibited and otherwise also. So whatever kind of wisdom that he has gained, purva anubhuta vishaya, all the experiences that he has gained in the past, all of them have contributed to some kind of wisdom into him. That's called purva prajñā. That's what we call the tendencies. What they call the vasana, the tendencies with which one is born. See, when one is born, one brings with oneself these tendencies. At the same time then, the karma and the upasana that one has brought with oneself, that forms the experiences or situations of life. So life presents before him various situations that are determined by the upasana and karma that he has brought with him, or that is performed. At the same time, he himself comes. So he is the result of all the past experiences, of all the past lives, I guess, So all the past experiences of all the past lives have created whatever kind of wisdom in him, all of that also he brings with himself. So atita karma phala anubhava vasana. Atita karma phala anubhava. So anubhava, the experience of atita karma phala. All the past karma phala that he has experienced, vasanas, all the vasanas and impressions, the tendencies that have been, implanted in him, with all of those he comes here. In the page 1192, says Anandagiri, Vidya karmanoho upabhoga sadhanatva prasiddhe anvarambhevi kimidi anvarabhate vasana iti ashankyaha sacha iti. So vidya karmanoho upabhoga sadhanatva prasiddhe. Alright, so upabhoga sadhanam. Kim upabhoga sadhanam? So having reached that next house or embodiment, what it is that becomes the means for gaining experiences, vidya karmanoho. So vidya and karma means all the past. Vidya also is karma only. Ultimately what we call vidya or meditation also is nothing but mental karma. So all the actions that he has performed, but vidya and karma, because these are the two things that one should have in one's life, meditation also must be there, as well as rituals also must be there. What Vedas basically enjoin is the worship of God. In these two forms, by way of rituals, Agnihotradi or Sandhya Vandanadi, or by way of various meditations that we perform. So these are the two, and then all the daily and obligatory duties that are enjoined. So this Vedas in fact enjoin a virtuous life upon a person. As we said, as Bhashyakara also said, that since in the human being the other lower tendencies also are there, therefore it is necessary to restrain them and deliberately engage in activities which are virtuous activities, which are conducive to one's own growth, one's own evolution. Because that evolution human being has to carry out himself. So as Swamiji says, by giving this body, human body, God has done what needs to be done by way of the organic evolution. But now when it comes to spiritual evolution, that responsibility rests with the human being. And that is why the scriptures are there to direct him. But then everybody knows that one cannot always do everything that is enjoined upon oneself, because many other tendencies are there, and more often, very often, they also take hold of a person, and the person winds up doing something which is quite contrary to what is becoming of him. That also is known. At the same time, we do a lot of things also which are just done habitually, which are not necessarily premeditated, and therefore neither prohibited nor enjoined. So, vidya karmanoho upabhoga sadhanatva prasiddhe. It is well known, very well known, that the vidya and the karma become the sadhana means for his various experiences in this life. Anvarambhepi. So that they follow. Footnote 5, gachantam atmanam anugamanepi. Alright, that the vidya and the karma accompany him, that is alright, because that is what he requires for gaining experiences in this life. Kividi anvarabhate vasana iti. Vasana, footnote 6. Halo bhoge tasyaha anupayuktatvadi shankidahu ashaya. But kimini vasana anvarabhate. Why is it that the vasanas follow him? Because halo bhoge tasyaha anupayuktatvad. It does not appear as though the vasanas are required for gaining experiences, because for gaining experiences, what you require are the means. And those means are presented by the vidya and the karma. So what is the need of vasanas? The tendencies that also one brings with oneself. So what use do these vasanas or tendencies have in gaining those experiences, in fulfilling the purpose of the life? So he has come here with a certain purpose, or a certain agenda, let us say. And all the agenda is accomplished by the vidya and the karma. So what role do the vasanas of these habitual tendencies to play in fulfillment of this purpose? That's the question here. Iti shankidahu ashaya. In short, this questioner does not think that the vasanas have any role to play in terms of gaining the experiences for which a person, a jiva, has been born. Iti ashankyaha sacha iti. Bhashyakara says, sacha vasana apurva karmarambhe karma vipake cha angam bhavate tena asau ape anvarabhate. So purva prajna is explained as vasana, as the natural tendency that one brings, and those tendencies can be anything. So punya vai punyena karmana bhavati papah papena. So by the punya karma one becomes a devata, and by the papa karma one becomes a devil. Both of these possibilities are there. Or let us say that both the devatas and the devil, both of them are there. So these are the tendencies. And that is what determines how he responds. So the vidya and the karma will present the means of situations for experiences, but the way he will respond also is determined by what he is. Also, sacha vasana apurva karmarambha hai. For arambha, for the performance of apurva karma, new karma. So for performance of the new actions, karma vipake cha. So karma vipake, footnote 3, karma phale cha angam bhavati. So these vasanas have an important role to play in terms of performance of the actions as well as experiencing the result of the actions. Siddhanandagiri, apurva karmarambhadau angam purvasana ityatra hetumaha. Apurva karmarambhadau. That means in performing actions, new actions, as well as in experiencing the results, how the vasanas have a role to play. In fact, not only role to play, they become the hetu. It is the vasana that prompts the performance of actions, and vasana that also are important in experiencing the results. So, purvasana het angam is hetu. Purva ityatra hetumaha nahiti. So, angam, footnote number 4, prayojakam. So, prayojakam, that which impels the new actions, as well as that which impels the experiencing of the karma phala. So, how is it that the vasanas do that? For that, the reason is explained, nahiti. So, tena asobi anvarabhate. So, that is the justification for why the vasanas also accompany him, and that is explained in nahiti. Nahi tatha artaya vasanaya vina karma kartum phalam cha upabhoktum shakyate. Nahi taya vasanaya vina, it should be taya actually. So it is without that vasana, karma kartum phalam upabhoktum na shakyate. Without the vasanas, without the given tendencies which actually prompt a person to perform an action, it is not possible for any action to originate. So an action will originate from a person only when that action is prompted by something within the person. And that is what is called the vasana. Phalam jo bhoktum, that I don't know. I mean, how the experiencing of the phala, what the vasanas have to do with reference to the experience of the phala. For performance of action, I can understand that the vasanas have, of course, they prompt me. But for experiencing result also, I guess the way I experience the result, because the result is experienced in as much as the result comes to me in the form of some situation, and that I experience, but I guess the manner in which I experience that is also determined by the vasana. So what comes to me is alright. What comes to me, my karma brings me some wonderful music, but then the way I enjoy it or experience it is determined by my vasanas. And so forth and so on. I guess the life presents before me a variety of experiences, but the way I experience them is determined by the vasana. So what I do is determined by the vasana that I brought with me, as well as the way I experience a given thing also is determined by the vasana. In that sense, the vasana has an important role to play in terms of fulfilling the agenda of gaining various experiences. Also that there is something called a free will, understand. Not only that we have, that our life is determined by the karma and the pura, so vidya karmani. Not that the life is determined merely by the vidya and the karma that one is brought with oneself, but there is also this free will. And how one uses one's free will is again determined by the vasanas. So this is a very common question. That Swamiji, the point is that this person has a tendency to perform sin. Person has a tendency to do things. So where is the free will? That's a question that is asked often. So a person who is brought up in a slum area will act in a certain way, and a person brought up in a different area will act in a different way. And therefore, it appears as though one has no freedom at all. So even though we talk about the free will, that doesn't appear to be a free will really, because my will also appears to be determined by my own nature. So that is what is meant by vasana. The vasana, the nature that one is brought with oneself, will also initiate new actions. Therefore, if person has come with a tendency of punya, so with tendency of, that is the kind of personality one has cultivated, a virtuous personality, then one will be prompted to perform virtuous actions. And also if one has brought a vicious personality, then one will be prompted to perform vicious actions. And we see these tendencies, everywhere. How even children also show these tendencies. Some children show the tendencies of loving tendencies they show, and some are all fighter and hitter, so that's also what we find. And so that means that in a way what we call free will also is determined by the vasana. And so one has to overcome that vasana as well, in the sense that suppose that vasana or the tendency is something that naturally goes against against what is enjoined. And the vasana again are ragadveshas, basically, So vasana means ragadveshas that one is brought. So ragadveshas is what I have brought, and the situation is what I confront. And so in a given situation, what will I do is determined by my nature. And so unless one again is determined to overcome those ragadveshas, tayoravashamagachet, tau yasya paripantinam, that one should not submit oneself to these vasanas or ragadveshas. And that is where the role of the scriptures comes, that one deliberately submits oneself to the instructions of the scriptures, and that is how deliberately frees oneself from the impulsion or the compulsion of the vasanas. So there are compelling tendencies everyone has brought, and those compelling tendencies impel him to perform certain actions, as well as those tendencies decide how he responds to various situations. And so you can call that the free will, in fact, is being conditioned by these vasanas. And so one has to overcome those tendencies as well. So nahi taya vasanaya vina karma kartum phalam cha upabhoktum shakyate. So unless the vasanas are there, it is not possible that one performs an action. That is, an action is always performed as impelled by something within oneself, and a result also is experienced as impelled by something within oneself, and that is called a vasana. Says Indriyanam Visheshu Kaushalam Anusthane Prayojakam Tacha Phalo Bhoge Hetuhu. Indriyanam Visheshu Kaushalam. The Indriya sense organs also have a certain skill with reference to enjoying the various sense objects. Anusthane Prayojakam. And that's the Prayojakam, that is what impels a person to do certain things. So some people have facility to do things, other people have no facility to do those things. They may have facility to do other things, as Bhashyakara will explain. Tacha Anushtanam Phalo Bhoge, not Phalo Bhoge, but Phalo Bhoge Hetuhu. And that Anushtanam. So first of all, Indriyanam Visheshu Kausalam, that's how Bhashyakara explains anyway. So the way Bhashyakara explains is like this. So Indriyanam Visheshu Kausalam Anusthane Prayojakam. So these Vishaya are the sense pleasures of different kinds. It may be the objects of the senses, or it can be objects of the ego and emotions and whatever. So these various, so Indriyanam Visheshu Kaushalam, some people have facility, and therefore they plunge into politics. That's sound. They have facility with that. People have facility with different things, and social work, they just plunge into that. Or a spiritual life, they plunge into that. A religious life. Or whatever, or just a life that is devoted to sense pleasures. So you find, so that is Indriyanam Visheshu Kaushalam. This sense organ, that is the mind really, has certain kaushalam, has certain facility with reference to certain sense objects. Anusthane Prayojakam. And that is what will prompt me to do actions. Because I have facility or I have natural liking, towards certain things. And that Anushtanam Phalo Bhoge Hetuhu. And it is that which brings about the karma phala. That's how Bhashyakara says. So karma phala is essentially brought about by what I do, and what I do is determined by my vasanas. So then those vidya karma do not seem to have much to do, if vasanas only prompts what I do, and what I do determines what I get naturally. So karma phala that I experience is determined by the karma that I performed, and the karma that I perform are determined by the vasanas that I have. In that case, so that is the free will part of it. The destiny part also, in the sense that I am confronted in my life with many things that I have not done. Like I am born to a certain parentage, I am born in a certain family, I am born with certain, environment. And also as I go along in my life, I confront things that are not necessarily results of my action. So I worked hard and appeared in the examination and passed the examination with good marks, and therefore I went into medical school, let us say, that's okay. But then what kind of professors I confront there, and what other kind of situations are there, what peers are there, all of that is not necessarily determined by me. So you may have to say that is what is determined by vidya karma. So what I do is all determined by the vasanas, and then what I confront is all determined by the purva, vidya, and the karma, the destiny. So we may have to say that the vidya karmani, that they form what we call the destiny in our life, and this pura prajna forms what we call the free will in our life. The free will is conditioned by the pura prajna, and the vidya karma are what create the situations around me. Well, in that sense, Vashyakara says, Sacha vasana apurva karma arambhe. So these vasana, the tendencies, they prompt the action that I perform based on the kind of likes and dislikes that I have. Naturally, I will do things in order to facilitate my likes and dislikes, and I would have a tendency to acquire and experience that which I like, and tendency to avoid that which I dislike. That is how sacha vasana apurva karmarambhe karma vipake cha. So karma phale cha angam bhavati prayojakam bhavati. Yeah, footnote number 2. Angam bhavati. That is all. Yeah, anubhava vasana ityartha. That is what the footnote number 2 is. Says footnote number 2. So footnote number 1 was purva prajna. So that we saw purvotpanna vidya karma ityartha. Footnote number 2, anubhava vasana ityartha. Karya karana kotyoho dvairasya siddhyartham samasatat akarane. That will become more clear when we read the Vartika actually. That one is karya, other is karana, and that's how Vartika also explains how vasanas, they prompt the vidya karma. Now vidya karma becomes, so karya and karana, as Vartika will explain, how the actions that we perform form the tendencies, and how the tendencies that we have prompt the actions. There is a karya karana bhava there. And that's the reason why one is the karya, the vidya karma becomes the karya, and the vasana becomes the karana. So karya karana kotyoho. So thus the two kotis, or these two classes are there, karya and karana. So dvairasya siddhyartham, in order that both of them are placed in separate categories. Samasa tadakarane. So vidya karmani, there is a samasa. So both of them are combined to show that they belong to one class, and purva prajna is not combined with them. So vidya karma purva prajna, they didn't say that, but they say vidya karmani and purva prajna. So purva prajna has been sort of mentioned separately, because it belongs to one category, namely karanam, and vidya karmani belongs to another category, namely karya, and vice versa. And so that is why these two separate categories are there. That's the reason why samasa tat akarane. So vidya karmani samasa is there. In purva prajna the samasa is not there. It's not a part of samasa. So that was footnote number 2. Okay. So Bhashyakara says, Uktameva hetum upapadayati. That same hetu. So nahi taya vasanaya vina karma kartum phalam cha upavoktum shakyate. That's the hetu. That without the vasana one cannot perform the karma, and if one does not perform karma, there cannot be karma phala. That's the reason why the vasana becomes the prayojakam, that which impels the karma and karma phala. So how come the vasana becomes prayojanam? So uktamava hetum upapadayati. How it is that the vasana becomes the prayojaka, the one that prompts the karma and the karma phala, upapadayati, that is now being shown with reasoning. Nahi ityadina. Nahi arabhyaste vishaye kaushalam indriyanam bhavate. Nahi anabhyaste vishaye indriyanam kaushalam bhavate. Indriyas, by indriyas we should understand only the mind. So basically indriyas are the various faculties. The faculties mean the seeing, hearing, thinking, touching, tasting, whatever. Each one of them has certain built-in tendencies. Basically the mind that has various built-in tendencies, which tendencies manifest themselves at the level of different sense organs. So mind has emotions also, mind has thinking also, and mind has these tendencies, built-in tendencies, the reference to the sense objects. And therefore those tendencies they become manifest through the activities of different sense organs of perception. And so the eyes have a tendency, they like certain things, and eyes, at the level of eyes also there are some likes and dislikes. That means with reference to sense objects there are likes and dislikes. That's what we call indriyas. So likes and dislikes reside in the mind with reference to various sense objects. That is what we call the tendencies with reference to sense organs. They are called indriyas. But they are not indriyas, but they are mind alone associated with indriya. In as much as an indriya or sense organ cannot perform its function unless the mind is associated with it. So that aspect of the mind that is associated with that a given sense organ is also called the indriya here. So nahi anabhyaste indriyanam kaushalam na bhavati anabhyaste vishaye. Unless there is abhyasa, unless there is a practice or a certain acquaintance with a certain sense object, so unless there is an abhyasa or a practice of experiencing a certain sense object, a kushalata or a skill does not come in the sense organ. Like even riding a bicycle also requires a certain abhyasa. Then alone one gets a certain kind of a skill to do that. Driving a motor car also requires an abhyasa, then one acquires a skill. So that's how the natural skills are acquired as a result of the abhyasa, either done in this life or in the past life. But in any case, even in experiencing a certain sense object, like even eating the food or listening to the music or whatever it is, or looking at the flowers and enjoying things, there also certain abhyasa is required. That you must have had experience with certain kind of music, certain kind of food, certain kind of flowers, certain kind of movies, certain kind of novels, certain kind of whatever. And then alone you acquire a certain skill, to be able to see those things. So when you watch a movie also a certain skill is required. What's happening here? Sometimes you just don't make out. But there are certain ways of expressing things. Certain symbolic ways are there. And there become also certain conventional ways. And so you acquire a certain skill to spot, the symbol that is involved in that, suggestions that are involved. Because certain things are said, certain things are suggested, certain things are symbolized, and people have certain facility, to be able to see that. Some other people just don't have that. And so, therefore, one can enjoy that movie, other one cannot quite enjoy, a third one cannot enjoy at all. And so, that is how the abhyasa is required. In short, vasana or the tendency is a result of abhyasa. When a thing is done repeatedly for a period of time, then that automatically gets ingrained in my personality, and then that is done without any effort. So that alone is called vasana way, which comes into my mind without any kind of a premeditation. So without any deliberation, something that presents itself to my mind is called vasana. And therefore when I see a certain thing, automatically, without any deliberation, I will respond to it, or I will act according to it, or I will relate to it in a certain way. That's all. And so when this thing comes, somebody will start doing that, whatever it is. Or something will prompt, a given thing will prompt a person to do a given thing. Who knows? I don't know. So anyway, that's the reason why when we are confronted with a variety of things and beings in our life, they create in us certain inner responses. And so that is the kind of skill. So that's a vasana. And so, just as I say, when a person sees a river, that's all the immediate tendency is to plunge and to take a dip in that. I don't know. So somebody sees water and just cannot control. So that is how. Somebody sees the ocean and something happens. Somebody looks at the mountain and something happens. All of this shows that one has brought those tendencies with oneself. One loves certain. You just love mountains. You love ocean. You love trees. You love flowers. You love people. So, or it may be just the other way around also. It may be quite opposite also. And so, हमको सब बस्ती में रहना अच्छा नहीं लगता है. अकेले में रहना अच्छा लगता है. हमारे घर में होते हैं. So I feel good when I'm in my house or I'm enclosed in my room. I feel good. And when I'm exposed to people, then I may not be very comfortable. Some people are just comfortable with people. They can't sit inside. Ask Swami to sit inside. So when we had this program here last 2 years ago, then Swami, this is a rest period now, one morning class and one mid-morning. So what are these fellows doing outside? I said, they're just, no, they love satsang. He said, that's how. He came out here and that's how a new session was created. That's it. A person people means you enjoy them. A lot of people are there, wait a minute then, I'll close my doors. That's another tendency.